Hello, viewers. Welcome to our pre-stream.
Wow.
Hello. Hey.
You're the first person to ever think of that.
Hey there.
Well, I've had friends tell me when they log in, it's like us kind of just rambling.
Yeah.
So this is where people see it. So yeah.
That's a smart idea. I'm going to tell that to people
Yeah.
from now on.
Hi,
Welcome
folks.
people to the stream.
Yeah, we were just having a friendly pre-show conversation. I always tell people that we almost record a podcast. There's like the pre-show podcast, which is this.
Yeah.
And then after we turn the cameras off, we have like a post-show. So we just discuss kind of, what do we discuss? Movies?
Yeah, movies. And
I was ranting about the movie Napoleon and how it was so terrible. Even though they had a terrible...
not good historically.
yeah, they just had an unlimited budget, great actors, directors, badass story, and they just, butchered it somehow. So, yeah, drop a comment. We appreciate people
Yeah.
tuning in. As the comment says, welcome to our show. This is our show.
Yeah.
All three platforms have accepted the stream. Shall I start the timer?
Well,
Or do you want to do your 30-second
well,
meditation?
could you send me a link or?
Sure.
Okay.
I think we will do some silence once John gets the...
Wait, once I get
Oh, Nick's World is in the chat. Hello, Nick's World.
let's see.
He's been watching The Wiggles, an Australian band for children's music. Huh.
Okay, let's see.
I heard Australia is the only country of which the United States is exporting more people than importing, which is interesting.
The
to think.
United States is exporting?
No, Australia. So it's the only country of which we have like a there's more Americans leaving to go to Australia than there are Australians coming to America. I guess that's the only country in the world of which that is true. Which I thought
Sure.
Australia is actually a pretty safe place to be if World War III breaks out.
Okay, I hope I'm sharing mine. I'm not sure.
Do you want me to send you the link?
Yeah, if you could. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, that's yeah.
All right. Looking it up for you.
Okay, thanks. Once I could hit the share button, I don't know. Feels so dopey.
Huh.
Hey, Nick's World. Hey, Nick. The
And
Wiggles.
Nick's World is one of our true fans, one of our true viewers, and we appreciate you tuning in. I'm not familiar with the Wiggles, but I do like music, and I don't know Australian music. I don't know if there's any. I'm ignorant on that subject. The Wiggles. Let's see. Are they related to the Teletubbies? I just think of the Teletubbies when I think of the Wiggles.
Oh, okay.
They're different
Okay.
colors.
Okay. Thanks. I've just posted mine.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
you don't need the link anymore?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's do some silence and then maybe start the.
Yeah.
All right. When you hit the clapper, I'll start the timer.
Pretty soon. Whoa.
Hello, Think Twice Radio, and welcome to another episode of the thrilling show, Smalltalk.
With Matt and John.
Yeah,
I'm John.
and I'm Matt, and this is our Smalltalk,
Yeah.
where we just have winding conversations from everything from bread and circuses to
Yeah.
the meaning of life
Meaning of life.
to arts and culture.
Arts and culture.
Yeah,
Aminals.
we're the new talking heads,
Yeah.
and yeah, we are your puppets. Usually, talking
Exactly.
heads they try to puppeteer you, but you actually can puppeteer us. So, if you're watching live, please drop a comment as it'll show on our display.
Yeah.
Then we're forced to see your show, or if you're watching in a later recording, drop a comment, and we do enjoy our audience. So,
Yeah.
hey, what do we have on today's agenda?
Okay.
John?
Well, one of the subjects I would like to conquer today is conquering the worm, and I have to give a lot of credit to our ex-president Jimmy Carter, who basically, after he left office, did all sorts of great things. And one of the great things he did is he started a crusade against the guinea worm.
This was after his presidency.
After his presidency, he did a lot of great things, and as a result, we have almost eradicated the guinea worm from humanity. Like, this was a thing that it was in the Bible. Basically, they would write about it. They would say they were like being like burned by a serpent.
Huh.
Like, and they didn't really know how to get rid of it.
And the serpent,
Well-
serpent represented the guinea worm, or is it more the spirit of the devil?
It was like it when you hear about this, you will think of it as the devil because basically what a guinea worm is this is a fun little worm. If you live in a poorer country, say you go to drink some water, glug, 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 oh, I love this water out there. It's nice, fresh, organic water. You get to drink it, but what happens is there's eggs. These worm eggs get in you, and they are in your body for like a year.
Okay.
So you basically have a worm in you for a year. You don't feel good. You have diarrhea, and basically, this thing grows to be 3 feet long.
What do the worms? I think worms are misunderstood creatures in the animal kingdom. So
They
what?
should-
Because I think worms, regular worms,
Yeah.
at least their poop is good for fertilizer.
Yeah, they are because there's like 10 million different species of worms, but there's like 138 that basically get into human beings.
Do they just leech on us, or do they eat away at our?
They eat away, they leach, they breed in us. This is one thing the guinea worm does, is the guinea worm gets in there, it kind of like, it twists around, it basically what's going to happen, it will burrow through your flesh, and somewhere in your lower extremities, what happens is you start to feel a burning sensation. Like you'll get a blister like in your foot or in your lower leg or something, and you're like, I'm burning, and then it's a very intelligent parasite because it makes you then go to the water, where this worm then comes out of your body, which is not cool.
So you go swimming in the water, and it comes out of
You're
your-
more like, I gotta go in the water, and what happens is the worm, this 3-foot worm, then starts to exit your body and poop out thousands of eggs.
Huh, this is interesting. So where does Jimmy Carter come into all this?
Well, Jimmy Carter, who, God bless him, took upon himself to rid the globe of this parasite.
Seems like a noble goal.
It's a noble goal, and actually there were very simple things that they could do, like just doing water filtration. Like it could easily be filtered out.
Boiling the water before you drink it.
Boiling water, but also just simple filters. Like they have simple, like they'll say like a simple straw, which is like, it sounds like ridiculous, but he was able to like reduce in human beings, like I think there's only like in like one country, maybe a couple of cases a year, where there used to be millions.
Huh. Do you have any recollections from the Jimmy Carter presidency? He was kind of before my time. 'Cause
I do remember.
I don't understand. He seems like he's universally acknowledged that his presidency was terrible, but people also acknowledge that he was a good guy and he seemed to have done good stuff after his presidency.
There was high inflation. Also, he ended up looking weak during the hostage crisis because you know what he did? He said
the Iranian
council. He said, "Gosh darn it, I'm not going to leave the White House until the hostages are freed." So he was in the White House the whole time, and he just came off as ineffective. They launched a secret CIA thing to go release them, and that failed. So America, basically, it was 8 years or 4 years of America looking crappy.
Did Jimmy Carter leave the White House, or did he at some point have to?
He left. No, before Trump, every president when he was elected out, they left because that's normal. That's what a normal president does. So he left. He lost in a landslide. It was embarrassing.
To Reagan, he got kind of
I remember, like in our class, like the teachers were like, "Okay, kids, who would you all vote for?" Everybody in the class would want to vote for Reagan. It was only me and the one other African American kid who wanted to vote for Carter because I liked him. Because
he was like an aw shucks peanut farmer, wasn't he?
And he brokered a peace deal between Egypt and Israel, which is incredible.
Which is
Think
great,
about that.
Given the news today that I think there was a news that the Biden administration announced that they had negotiated a peace agreement between Israel and the Hezbollah.
That's great.
Which is good. I think
that is great news.
I think one of the things we were commenting on the show is just how, I mean, I don't know. When we think of like the neocon warhawks that seem to be prevalent in Washington, I've never met an actual regular person warhawk, right? The John Boltons that are all like bloodthirsty looking for war.
Yeah,
but then like the whole American working class, I have yet to meet a single person that like enjoys these wars. So it's just I think I've been very nervous lately about just I mean, what seems to be escalations, not just in the Middle East, but also with the Ukraine, Russia, NATO conflict.
I'm not a war
I
hawk.
think peace is good, and I think the ability for our leaders to prioritize peace is, I think.
I'm not a war hawk on that, but I understand, that we have a role in the world to defend democracy against. And Russia's, like, I'm a Cold Warrior guy. I'm like, I didn't like any of the Middle Eastern excursions, but I'm a Cold War guy. The Russians, they're our enemies. They've always been our enemies. We can't let them just take over democracies like that, And
that's the thing is like all these things are very complex, and you can't just say war bad, or peace good. It's kind of complex. Then it's also something where it's all about. And I think we're just in this inflectional point where I think traditionally our role has been right. We are the kind of the keepers of democracy, of peace. And we go around the world. And, I feel like maybe we've kind of overstretched that and taken it to the extreme where now we kind of almost turned into a playground bully. But I think we still, we can't fully retreat. And so we still, I think we're hopefully moving towards a role where we are still kind of like a good cop, right? We go around and we that's, I think the goal is, but I think maybe in the past we just kind of just abused that kind of position of power.
We have done a lot of horrible things. Like in the 60s and 70s, like we overthrew governments secretly. Like, that's horrible. Yeah.
Well, between, cool. Vietnam or,
Vietnam.
Even Ukraine, I'm not an expert at all, but I've been kind of trying to understand just the whole role that we played in Ukraine I think the Maidan Revolution in 2014.
Yeah.
And it seems like we go around starting regime change wars that I think maybe benefit the elites in Washington and the military-industrial complex and all the people that profit off of war. But working class people, like, again, I know plenty of people on the left, people on the right, working class people, neighbors, friends, family. I've yet to meet anyone that's like super pro for a war. But then you turn on CNN and John Bolton's on there talking about how we need to
it seemed like the whole Iraq. I'm still busting my head over the whole Iraq war. How we kind of seem to forget about it too.
Yeah,
it was
I think it's kind of even hard, especially for Zoomers. There's a whole generation of younger people that were born after 9/11, so they don't even understand. At least I was, I think I was in 6th grade when 9/11 happened. So I wasn't a baby, but also wasn't an adult. So I kind of understood the mood of the country, and it did seem like it's kind of hard to explain how much different America was at that point of time. And I think that was my concern with the whole Israel thing of what happened on October 7th, where you had all those people come across the border and slaughter people. That was brutal and that was atrocious.
Insane,
but it felt like maybe, especially now with what's going on in Gaza, that it seemed very similar to 9/11. If it was an idea of, I think the leaders of the United States took advantage of like the country's outrage and dismay to kind of
push their own agenda.
You're scared of terrorists. We need to go kill the terrorists. And I think kind of just manipulated the populace. And we have some more viewers. So
Annette.
Hi, John, and I am
Annette.
In addition to being Matt, I am John's nephew for those. We have nepotism on our show. We are a full on nepotism operation. Here.
So good old Annette. Hey, how you doing?
Drop a comment, Annette. Like, we are your puppets.
Yeah.
You drop a comment and we will.
Yeah.
Oh, you are our script.
Hey, Annette, maybe you want to hear more worm talk?
Yeah. So back to Jimmy Carter. He's a peanut farmer.
And
he's fighting.
So he had a crusade.
Fighting a global crusade against the guinea worm.
The guinea worm, and he got like nations to cooperate. And I dropped a Welsh language fact. Okay, very good.
Maybe we'll somehow tie this to the
guinea worm. Yeah,
the guinea worms. And there was potato worms in the Welsh Irish region of the world.
Yeah.
But the guinea worm.
So he basically got it together, and basically this worm, it's been around like in the days of Pharaoh.
Like Egyptian pharaohs?
Egyptian pharaohs, they were treating it like the same way they do today. Because if you get one, they have to draw it out of you. Like by basically they twist it. They twist the one end of the worm and they twist it around like a pen or a stick.
Gotta pull it out.
It takes weeks
to pull it out.
Because like if they don't want it breaking off inside you, because it just lays more eggs and you're in more trouble.
I see. You can't really cut its head off or something.
Yeah, so you have to like you basically have to sit there and pull it out. Yeah, exactly. Ew. But thanks to Jimmy Carter, we have pretty much gotten rid of the guinea worm in the human.
Through filters and straws.
Filters and straws all over the world. So lots of nice little kids around the world are like happy.
That's good.
Yeah. But
Do they use plastic straws? Because then plastic straws, I know, are a massive issue when it comes to pollution. The single-use straws.
I don't know. I should have done more research on this.
That's all right. That's yeah.
But there's other worms, goodness, going on. Other ways the humans have been fighting worms.
I know the red wiggler worm. It's a specific type of worm, and its poop is the best fertilizer.
Oh,
known.
okay.
They call it black gold. So actually, that type of worm, different than an earthworm, a red wiggler worm. They're small red worms, and they're good for compost.
Worms, like let's not put down worms as the lungs of the earth. Because they burrow little holes in the earth and the air can get in.
They're kind of cousins of the tardigrades in a way, aren't they? Which tardigrades are extremely small. They gotta be. They're not primates, right?
They're long. They're nematodes. That's the thing. Like, yeah, they're nematodes. And now the guinea worm is called the Draconis colus metatarsinus.
Huh.
That's the guinea worm. That's a bad worm. Another bad worm. Okay, yeah, they have. I think that's the thing. They do have lots of hearts, the worms. So
They don't have a head. Like how does that work? Where you can just kind of cut them in half. Then do they become two separate worms?
I think the deal is the head and the anus are just almost the same thing, which is terrible in any animal. But I think the head could eat, and and then the anus it's just a terrible thing.
That's the thing is, I think the whole. So yeah, I'm surprised by my factor. I think that's just kind of. When you realize what reality is extremely grotesque and gruesome and brutal occurrence. And I think maybe Western society just does a very good job at kind of sanitizing reality. I even come back to the whole death experience. When someone dies, you kind of you pay someone to like pamper them up in makeup, and then you kind of put them in a box in the ground, and that's it. There's no our whole society just the death part. We're very detached from everything. I think just everything, all the grotesque. We're all kind of like Buddhas in the way, right? Right. The Buddha was a prince that lived a charmed life, then he saw the brutal reality, and then came to his enlightenment, or at least that was what provoked him. But
we have cousins who are cousins of our family on the Guglielmi side, who they ran a funeral.
Yeah, funeral home. Well, then you get into the whole. There's an actual business to be made in funeral.
I remember the funniest thing Vinny ever said was we were like when the mother was the one mother that was getting buried. He's like, "Oh, gee, I wonder who took care of her." Because it was one of the cousins. It was funny.
Well, then I think it's just the whole idea that you could be married to someone, then when they pass away, like it depends on the body. If they pass away in your house, I guess you still have some ownership in it, but if somebody dies in like a hospital, then that body becomes property of the state. So you can't just like take it home with you. Like there's a whole legal process. Whereas if someone, I don't know, it's just interesting because
Oh, look, Annette, I didn't know that you worked at a funeral home for 10 years.
That would be an interesting way because you're a human, so you definitely get emotional, and obviously any person, if you don't know them, dying is bad. But then there's kind of the business aspect of a funeral home. And I saw somebody that had a billboard that said like their billboard was like affordable cremations, like $500, and it was just like that's just the fact that there's just the whole putting your face on a billboard advertising cheap cremations just seemed like a very very odd, different human reality than mine, I guess.
Yeah.
You miss working at a funeral.
You miss at the funeral. Yeah, I guess you just laugh a minute.
Well, it's just interesting. It's a whole subculture or sub industry that I just only experience funeral homes when I'm going to a funeral, and at some point, I don't know. I kind of want to have a. I'm kind of set on getting a Tibetan Buddhist sky burial. That's kind of my
hard to do, though.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. If I'm gonna shell out $10,000 for a box, I might as well just send $10,000 to have my body put somewhere up on a mountainside picked at by vultures.
I wonder. I wonder if that could be done in New York State.
I think a couple states like Washington, I want to say, they made human composting like legal. So that's an option. I think. Yeah. And this is my theory of reality, just Western society, is we're moving towards kind of a monoculture, whether it's a monoculture of media, through political parties, we're kind of fragmenting. Where I think in the future you will have a palette of options.
Yeah.
So I think whether it's sky burial or the traditional burial or a mausoleum or a cremation, you're going to have a whole palette of options.
Oh, okay.
Because it's sovereignty. What happens to our
Yeah. Like and that's kind of like I'll be cremated. It's my last chance for a hot smoking body.
that would be an interesting job. Just like what's the person's job that shovels the body into the oven? That's interesting.
Well. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, we are. I don't know what would the entities rate our show? Are we R-rated, X-rated? We're not G. I guess we're
Good. Actually, yeah.
this show. We're talking about worms
Yeah.
and Jimmy Carter and
Yeah. What did the turkey?
genocide in Gaza. And,
Yeah. So what did the turkey say to the chef?
I don't know. What did the turkey say to the chef? Stuff me.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
Okay, okay, it's pretty good.
maybe
Good thing
that's
for-
a good joke for everyone to have in their back pocket. I think one of the Thanksgiving traditions that I'm most proud of for innovating is the politics room. And I think I brought this after the 2016 Thanksgiving where we had a Thanksgiving dinner, and this was right after the first Trump election. And we had a specific room in the house where you were only allowed to talk
that's a
about
good
politics
idea.
in that room. That's the only thing you could talk about in that room, and that politics could not be talked about anywhere else.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it helped. I think
That's a good idea.
it brought the family together and made it a civil Thanksgiving.
Well, we don't have big rifts, really.
Not really. I think
really. Maybe subtly. Maybe.
So I don't think we have any radicals on either end, which probably helps. And I think we kind of
Yeah.
do. But I think the whole Thanksgiving experience, and obviously we're recording this the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. What are your thoughts on Thanksgiving? How does it rank as your
Oh, it's okay. I mean, it's a nice get together with the family.
Yeah.
What? Eat it.
There's football, food, and family. Which of those three do you enjoy the most?
Just the family. I just like getting
family.
together with the family.
See, I could do without the family. I need the food. The food is my favorite part. The family is something. It's. I like the family, but I'm there for
now.
the food.
You say that now, but someday you'll be like, oh, family. Yeah, hopefully there's no worms in the turkeys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But okay. Nick liked his joke about the stuffing the turkey. Yeah. But hopefully there's no worms in the turkeys. Yeah.
Yeah, turkeys.
But-
Turkeys that's got to be a rough experience, especially, they're in demand now. I don't know. There's probably a whole industrial system of getting turkeys. I think I saw in the news that there's some mainstream media news that were saying that the average cost of feeding 10 people for Thanksgiving is $58.60 or something. It's like, I think inflation is something we all feel the most probably around Thanksgiving because it's like you're kind of buying staples. So I've been stocking up on turkeys at the store. Yeah.
Ooh.
We have more dirty jokes in the comments. So we have
A Scooby-Doo and a chocolate chip cookie.
what do you get when you cross Scooby-Doo and a chocolate chip cookie?
Scooby-Dooby.
Scooby Cookie Doo.
Scooby Cookie Doo. Okay. There you go. Okay. Scooby Cookie Doo.
We're jokesters. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what else could we talk about?
Well, okay. Well, there are other types of worms that humans have conquered.
What other types of worms?
The screw worm.
The screw worm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
In Florida, used to cause billions of dollars in economic damage to farmers, to meat farmers, because there was this thing in the South. You'd get this screw worm, like you'd have a pig or something, and a screw worm would come along and lay its eggs in the thing, and basically you'd have a pig or a cow walking around, maggots would be coming out of it. You'd lose the cow. So this one guy, I think his name was Nickerdolan, I think it was his name. Anyway, basically, after World War II, they learned that radiation would basically sterilize flies.
Radiation?
Yeah, radiation.
Kind of sterilizes everything, right?
Which is, it's a bad thing. But this guy was he was like a veterinarian, and he was really smart. And he's like, he was sick of dealing with these screw worms, like who would eat these poor little animals. Like that's just our animals, but like deers and little God knows little rabbits. A lot of Western New York like Southern animals, all the mammals would get screw worms if you had an open sore. Maggots would come out. So guess what they did? they started breeding. But basically, they figured out that that these screwworms, that the female would only mate once and die, and she'd just lay her eggs after that. But the males would mate millions of times. So basically, what they did is they basically bred tons of male flies because they would just get rotting flesh and eggs and stuff. But then they'd sterilize them and release these male flies into like the air, basically all over, like from Florida all the way down to the south.
Kill the worms?
To kill the flies. And guess what? They have eliminated since the 50s. They have slowly until now. They've gotten rid of all the screwworm flies. Up until and they've done it down through Mexico, and down they're pushing it through Panama. So they're killing this horrible fly.
So we're kind of fighting a war against the hookworm.
Yeah.
That's the thing is we kind of think human beings, we think of ourselves as, oh, we're fighting a World War III. There's multiple wars between many different armies and different battles.
Different battles, yeah. And that one we're winning, and I think it's a good one because I think flies and worms are okay to kill.
Well, it depends. Once they can stay in their own, in their own terrain, but once they start getting into our terrain, then we need to fight
like
back.
in our bodies.
We need to show strength. Yeah,
In
they
our
can stay in the soil, they can compost food, but once they start getting into our livestock, and we need to fight back.
Yeah. Well, okay, Nick. I would say don't be scared of the earthworms, but other worms are worth being afraid of. Like also the doom.
I think worms, right? And I think just our education system, we teach. Most people grow up thinking, oh, there's just worms. And worms is like a very diverse group. There's many, right? You've just mentioned two different types. There's many different types of worms, and they're misunderstood. We think of them, oh, they're gross, they're dirty, but they actually play a vital role to the ecosystem. And I think they have lots of positive benefits. Like you said, they are the lungs of the earth. They they compost things, and they do the dirty, nitty-gritty work of running our planet.
Yeah. And things eat them. Like birds are like, oh my God, every time it rains, those birds are like, oh, this is what they're like. Usually they're eating seeds.
And fish too. Fish love them.
Everything, they love to eat them. Fishes eat them.
I think it's right. You can just eat them. Whereas like a chicken, you can't just eat a chicken because they're all those little bones that get into your things. So it's got to be.
Oh yeah, that's right. They don't have no cartilage or. Oh yeah, they must be really tasty.
And they're just. I think they probably are. I think human beings eat worms. I think they're edible.
Yeah, I have eaten grubs.
Yeah, I think it's right. I think if I was, if the situation called for it, if I had nothing else to eat and there's only some worms, I guess I would have to indulge. It's not my preferred food, but
rotten things. Yeah, good worms. Yeah, but
Other topic that I wanted to kind of touch on was some recent developments in Bitcoin.
Oh, expletive.
Bitcoin recently hit its all-time high of $99,000 US.
Okay.
Which I don't really like talking about the price, but I think it's interesting. I think there's a couple factors that are going on right now. One, there was a halvening event, so I think I talked on it briefly of back in April, the actual supply of Bitcoin got halved, so now we're only experiencing 3.5 Bitcoins are created or brought into existence every 10 minutes. So the market's kind of pricing that in, and then also I think the election of Trump is definitely a more friendly crypto regime than kind of the Biden-Harris regime, and even Gary Gensler, who runs the SEC, were kind of there's definitely this war when we're talking about wars and different things. There's definitely a war in the government against this cryptocurrencies or digital currencies, and I think there's a whole regime that wants government-controlled digital currencies, kind of like a Chinese-style currency where like the government can give out money and track every dollar, and then not just track dollars, but tell people what they can and can't spend their money on. So that's kind of a couple other things, but that's something that's going on recently in the markets.
So, the halvening.
Yeah. So. And we're on a pace. So this happens roughly every 4 years. So on one of my solo shows, I was it's kind of similar to the Bitcoin protocol is kind of like the U.S. government as a protocol. It has this thing of every 4 years, the supply gets cut in half. So this will keep happening until eventually the number reaches zero. So we're actually still early because I think it's 2020, 2028, somewhere around there, that it will be cut in half again to like 1.5 coins.
Ooh, how long will it take to get to zero?
So I think it's projected 2140. So we still have I cut 100 years, but essentially that number, and that's kind of something hard, is human beings, we have a really hard time understanding exponents. So whether it's exponential growth, where the kind of the curve goes rapidly up, or exponential decrease, where it kind of shuts off. So actually, we're still pretty early in the happening because, you keep dividing by half, and eventually that number becomes really small. So there'll be, I think, there's a commentator called Michael Saylor. He says we are in the middle of a digital gold rush. So by 2034, I think it is, that 99% of all Bitcoins will be mined. So then the next 100 years will really just be the next 1%. So it's kind of, we're kind of in this, just the early stages of this, what he calls a digital gold rush.
Where would I buy, if I wanted to buy Bitcoin, what would I get? Would I get an app or something?
So there's a couple different ways. So one way to acquire Bitcoin is you could mine Bitcoin. So you could actually get an ASIC miner computer, set up your computer, and your computer could mine Bitcoin on its own. So that's one possible way that's extremely technical. So that the easiest way, if you wanted to, the easiest way for people to onboard Bitcoin. One, New York State is like, I call it the crypto North Korea. This is one of the most, we're essentially, you'll read a lot of companies that sell apps, and they'll say, we do not service clients in Eastern Ukraine, Iran, North Korea, and New York State.
Interesting.
Because New York State, we're kind of we are the financial capital of the world, not Buffalo, New York, or upstate New York, but like Manhattan, Wall Street. So New York State is kind of on the most progressive end of being the most regulatory agency. So the short answer is the easiest way for us to buy it is download the Coinbase app, and then you can buy it on a centralized exchange, where that's pretty simple. You can kind of connect your bank account, wire money, and buy it. Then there's a whole, if you keep your Bitcoin on Coinbase technically owns your coins. Then there's a whole other process of actually self-sovereignty, where you can actually, and there's a saying in crypto called not your coins, not your keys, not your coins. So if you buy Bitcoin and keep it on Coinbase is technically holding your coins for you, whereas the next level is then taking your Bitcoins, your cryptos, and moving it to your own wallet. So you can actually have like a little thumb drive where you could put your money on a thumb drive. And at that point, you are then, they call it self-sovereign, or then you have your coins.
So you technically just have it, and you could take that out at any point and then stick it inside and sell that.
So that's one of the advantages of, you could put, let's say hypothetically you had $1 billion. If you had $1 billion in a Bitcoin or in a bank, it'd be very hard for you to move that money, right? If you tried to move your $1 billion and say you wanted to move to Thailand, trying to get that $1 billion to Thailand would be very hard, right? Because you'd have to have the banks talk to each other. Whereas one of the advantages of Bitcoin is you could just put your $1 billion on a thumb drive, or essentially you could even put it in your head if you just remembered your password. So you could actually remember your password and go anywhere in the world and bring all your money with you. Plug in somewhere else.
There's a great movie called The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Okay.
And I think she like would rip off people, and but she was able to like remember the numbers and like transfer it. It's all in Bitcoin now. I just ripped you off. She'd do cool stuff like that. Like
that's the problem, is then there's a whole other level of, if your bank gets hacked, then there's ways for you to get your money back from the bank. There's legal procedures. But if Bitcoin, if you have your bank, all it takes is you getting scammed, and then you're out of luck. There's no like helpline. So it kind of has its pros or cons, because you kind of have to trust yourself. And also, there's a whole industry of scammers. Obviously, there's a whole group. Just crypto it's very easy for scammers. It's a very fertile ground for scammers to use it like anything. So, but that's kind of recent developments too. And then
So and that's kind of confused. Nick is told us some jokes. Let's see. The scammers do stink.
Scammers do suck, and I think that's it's kind of, that's why you kind of have to. But scammers are kind of, they're getting more sophisticated. I always said I'd make a good scammer, because sometimes when you get the emails and it's like written in like poorly English, because you can tell they're a scammer. So it's like, they just need someone to like help them
Well,
yeah.
yeah, and now they have robots, or they have AI will kind of like start grilling you. Like I noticed, I go to Facebook pages where like they might have like an actress, and then all of a sudden, guess what? You get a message from that actress, and it's like, how long have you been a fan of mine? And like you can tell there's like an AI thing going, and it's kind of
That's why the scams are just getting more elaborate, more complex, especially now with AI able to essentially. I'm sure we'll be victims at one point, but the AI can then AIs could ingest all of the video we produce on the internet, they have infinite, they have access to all our vocabulary, all the words we said, and they can kind of compose. Whether it's fake videos, AI chatbots, the scams are just getting more sophisticated over time.
Now, mentioning AI, and it just says at Tesla right now they have the robo-taxi, and I've not seen it myself.
Are you allowed to talk about this on?
Yes, I have. People have taken pictures with the robo-taxi. I'm going to have to find it's somewhere in the building. They have a robo-taxi. I'm going to go. I have a very robo-taxi I don't like because you're taking money out of the middle class. You're taking money away.
What is a robo-taxi?
Basically, it's like a
self-driving
car. There's no dude in there. It will go pick you up.
Which I experienced. I was in Phoenix for a bachelor party, and they had self-driving cars that were taxis. I didn't personally get into it, but you saw it, and it was similar to me of the first time I FaceTimed someone, or it was like the first time I used an iPhone, where it's like, oh, this is I've never seen that before, and you can kind of see it there of where it's going, because I think that's the robo-taxi. It's where we're going, and I know it.
I think we're going there, but I just don't like the idea of like, Elon, why do you want to take money away? Because there's people who are making their living doing taxi work, doing Uber, people just picking up like extra money. But then they're going to have this, we're going to spend like spend money. Basically, you're taking money out of those people's, you're taking money from the middle class. That's what I don't like about it. I know it is where we're going.
I guess, but even you could say the whole Uber, which is the gig economy. I mean, there's a couple things there. So I think, one thing we could talk about is kind of how the economy is going down. But I think one of the positive effects I could see of that, and that's something I'm struggling with the New York State. They're building the Kensington Highway Expressway project, so that the city of Buffalo, the state of New York, is like coming to spend $1 billion to like maintain the highway, because their goal is to maintain vehicular capacity. And I think right now we live in a world where everyone has their own car, everyone owns their own car, and really, when it comes to cars, you don't need a car. You need a ride from point A to point B. So I think whether it's robo-taxi, I think you're seeing younger people too. They don't want to own cars, right? There's a lot of headaches that come with cars, whether it's insurance, maintenance, and I think I saw a stat that something is like cars spend 95% or more than 95% of their life just stationary. So when you think of your car. The majority of the time the car is spent is just parked going nowhere. So I think, autonomous vehicles, I think, could do a lot to decrease the amount of vehicles we need on the road.
Yep.
And I think eventually it could help middle class or poor people, because I think how much poor working class people spend, to buy a car, to maintain a car, especially now when an SUV is like 70 grand, like 70, 80 grand. So I think there are some ways that, I think in the short run, obviously, people using Uber will hurt them, but in the long run, it could help actually make car ownership or the ability to get around easier. Which I think, it's all helpful. And we have a comment, the 33 they want underground. So essentially the state which some of the lawsuits are pending now. We've had a judge come up with this decision of he's given 60 days, he's going to render a decision. But essentially the state of New York has come into the Kensington Expressway, which is the 33 in the city of Buffalo, and their proposed plan is to put a cover on it, but only a 3-mile stretch, put a tunnel on it for $1 billion and keep cars coming in and out. And there's been a movement across New York State, but across the United States more generally, to actually, this come back to kind of after the post-World War II urban planning mindset was, we need to build our society for cars. We need to get people in and out of the city as fast as possible. So whether it was HUD or, urban development, what it did is it came into cities and built highways right in the middle of the cities. So in Buffalo, what that looked like, it was actually, cutting down Frederick Law Olmsted's Humboldt Parkway, which he was the architect of Central Park in New York City.
Nice,
so they came down, they cut down a bunch of, I think it was oak or elm trees, and yeah, built this trench, and now we have this highway so people can get in and out. And I think citizens in the Buffalo essentially are trying to say, no, we don't want this highway anymore. We want the original park back. So there's a movement too, because I think there's been, creating highways in cities has done a lot of damage to people, because then you have a lot of people breathing in TARP, they call them, traffic pollution.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. And I think it's kind of crazy to see, because the state is coming back and saying their whole goal is we want to maintain vehicular capacity. But in the future, I see where there's robo cars. It's like there's going to be way less cars on the road. We don't need to maintain vehicular capacity. We need to think about how can we build cities for people. And
I mean, the future will just be like robo taxis just zipping.
Yeah,
around.
it was crazy, right? The first time I saw a robo taxi in Phoenix, it was like wild. And I think the initial thing is to be like, oh, we don't want that, or we don't. But I think you could see how that's once you see it, it's like, oh, that's going to be a thing. Especially when you can see that it drives. Oh, the speed limit's 30. It drives at 30. And this is a stop sign. It stops at the stop sign.
Yeah. I work with a dude, and he was saying like he has an automatic driving Tesla, and he says it keeps him good. It keeps him from speeding because it always goes the speed limit.
Well, just even on the way here, we were driving to the studio, and this guy on a bike.
Oh God, yeah.
We're just driving at the speed limit. He comes up on our left, passes us on the left, and then swerves and passes the other person in front of us on the right, and he's just zipping. It's like you completely disregard your own human life. And I think the thing is crazy because the robo-taxis, I'm sure, right, it's not perfect. It's not 100%. It's maybe 99.99% effective, but the media will cover, oh, look at this robo-taxi hit a pedestrian. Meanwhile, every day there's pedestrians being maimed and gorged and being killed everywhere. But it's just another, it doesn't even get in the newspaper because it's so commonplace.
I'm constantly telling people, like when they hear, well, did you hear? Well, yeah, electric cars, they get in accidents too. They get in accidents. They'll blow up like a gas car will blow up. But it's different. They'll do it less, but it will happen eventually. But it is scary when an electric car, goes on fire.
Yeah. Well, I think the lithium batteries, and that's the thing is even the electric cars, it's like, oh, they need lithium batteries. And I think I saw an article that the Tesla cars, people have just been selling, like, there's not enough mechanics. There's a whole shortage of mechanics that have the specialty to actually fix up Tesla cars, and even the battery's hard to replace. So I'm just concerned about cars. I know, like, the whole manufacturing. They used to build cars that like last for years, and now it seems like cars, if you get 10 years out of a car, that's good. It's really just build a car, drive it, and then dispose of it. And it seems very not just cars, but there's lots of things where the planned obsolescence of anything, where it's just you're renewing straws. Oh, take a straw, use it one time, throw it in the garbage.
It's terrible. But it's terrible. I was I always thought that when I got the job I have, like at Tesla, I'd be able to repair electrical cars. And the truth is, I could not repair an electrical car. I could help be part of a team that fixes one particular model.
Well,
but I couldn't then go, hey, I'll go take a look at your car, your electrical car, buddy, and like check it out. I couldn't, I don't, like I have a specific skill for a little tiny part of.
That's the thing. Our economy in general it's really pushing all of us towards hyper specialization in one niche. In the days of like a generalist, and even just the mechanic, I know I have an old 1977 Dodge, and the mechanics that know how to work on those cars are literally dying. My mechanic drove himself over. His car ran himself over. So, and now the mechanics, all they do is just, you go to a mechanic, it's not like the mechanic has years of wisdom built up and he can assess your car. He literally just plugs it into a computer, and the computer spits out a code, and then he knows what the code is, so he does it. I think one of the problems with technology is we're kind of losing our humanity of, there used to be, obviously on the younger side, but I imagine there's some garage in the 1972 where there's just a whole team of mechanics that have just general awareness of all the cars and can just assess a car, can hear the sputtering of the engine and know, oh, that's a 1967 Chevy and it's whatever is loose. And we're just moving towards this more, like you're saying. super proficient at one very specific thing. That's great in a kind of a large organization where there's other people. But the days of the general, I think, just the generalist is kind of going away all throughout society.
Yeah. What would be nice if we could build a car that runs on worms. Like you scoop them in there.
I think they're building cars. I mean, they're building cars that run on, what is it? Like cooking oil. That's the thing.
Oh, really? Oh.
But also, I think when you realize how inefficient, even just our whole we eat burgers that are made out of cows, right?
Yeah.
Beef, and those cows, they take up a lot of land to actually raise a cow. So I think, whether it's chickens too, the whole industrial farming, I think what you're seeing is, 3D printing of food is maybe in the future, the far off future. But I know one thing that's coming is actually looking at bugs as a source of protein. So it would be more like I could see us having worm burgers or having cricket burgers, whereas actually maybe raising bugs is a more efficient use of resources than a cow.
That drives people insane. That's like, I've seen tons of people online who are like, they're gonna make us eat insects, and that's what they want. It's always like they. I think the big one is that girl, like Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg.
And they accuse too the rich dude, whatever his name is, that Rich Gates, is it?
Bill Gates.
And they accuse them that that they are going to build a system and just force, basically, I don't know.
I know Bill Gates he's buying up a lot of farmland. I don't know if that's an investment or whatnot, but I think, that's the thing is, like, it's very easy for us to, obviously, as a human being on planet Earth in 2024, it's extremely bizarre, the thought of eating worms. That, who knows, a human in 2124 might have a completely different outlook on life, the same way that humans 500 years ago couldn't imagine some of the stuff we do, and even some of the stuff that we do. I was just thinking how bizarre it is that we drink cow milk, like that could even be looked at, or the fact that we eat beef. Eggs. Or there's lots of things that we eat today that are just kind of normal that I can see how people
eggs.
Isn't the Hindus, they like worship cows, so like they probably would find it disgusting to the idea of eating a cow, or it's just weird how even us, we would never eat dogs. So dogs or cats, those are pets. We would never eat them, but we'll eat chickens. But chickens are pets, so it's just a weird. Yeah, it's weird how your culture influence them.
We don't eat we treat dogs good. I like the idea. I do like the idea. We treat dogs and cats. They get a pass on everything. They're like our people. They're okay. I don't want to make chickens pets. I still think they're so edible.
That's the thing, is that chickens are kind of this weird ground where they can kind of be pets, but pets that people are okay eating, or
I'd be okay eating them. Yeah,
that's where I think. And I have some friends that raise chickens in their backyards, and actually, you do get some sort of emotional attachment to the chickens. Oh. So I don't know any chickens personally, but if you raise a chicken for, I don't know, 5-7 years, it would be weird. But then also,
there's weird eating it.
Do you just bury it in the ground, or do you eat it? But then there's other cultures that and I know in the city, one thing that's kind of this influence of culture. If you have these immigrants or refugees coming from Bangladesh, or halal culture, so cultures where the slaughter of animals is like a thing, and that's what they do. So there's actually, then you have residents who are like experiencing. I guess there's residents that are like slaughtering animals in their backyard, and they're setting up like slaughter shops, which is like they're just doing their culture, right? It's just like they're doing their culture, but
disturbing.
To us it's disturbing, but to them it's like this is just what we do. So it's just it's a very interesting way how culture.
We've talked to people at work where they talk about how they slaughter goats. And I'm like, it's horrible. But it's like, they have to slaughter them a certain way. And it's like, they have to bleed them out. And it's not, it's something I couldn't do.
I think it comes again to like just our Western society. We're like Western consumer. We just go to Aldi's and there's just a nice burger there. I buy my burger and I go home. I don't think about it. Whereas I think, there's something, I think you'd maybe respect, maybe you would take that last bite or two of the burger if you were the one that I actually cut that cow's throat, know. So I think it's
like I say, a dude I work with, Babul, he's a slaughterer, animal slaughterer.
That's the thing is it's just very interesting. And I think I was listening to a podcast where he talked about how I think he was talking about Richard Dawkins. I think calls it like a phenotype, or I think we traditionally think of like culture as like separate than humans. Like there's humans, the genetic creatures, but then there's the humans, the culture. And I think viewing culture as like an expression of our genetics is kind of there's an interesting thought of actually seeing the institution of the church is kind of an expression of our genetics. It's not separate from that. But I think it's just interesting how culture is so different. Right? You can have one neighbor slaughtering goats in their backyard and literally not thinking anything of it, and then you have someone on the defense who's just from a different culture that is absolutely appalled that's a thing. I don't know if anyone's right or wrong, but it's just interesting how you can have two human beings but their culture influences how they see
It's
things.
funny if you talk to anybody who's grown up on a farm, they almost all have the same story of where their parents like feed them something that they were taking care of.
Yeah.
Like it's like a common story. You're like, oh yeah, that was your little pet. That's what you're eating, son. And like I think they laugh about it.
Yeah. I think my mom's similar thing was my mom snuck me skim milk because we were drinking 2%. And then it was kind of, we didn't have something similar to that. But, even just drinking milk is like a thing that's kind of normalized in the West.
Oh.
But I wonder what living on a farm would do. If you could be a farmer of any crop or animal, what would it be?
Oh, well, I enjoy tomatoes.
Tomatoes?
But I like I like marijuana. I like growing it. I mean, it's very satisfying. Like, I'm not a big smoker of it. I'm not like I got to do it all every day. I got to really just to exist. But it's like it's fun to watch. You grow it.
It's actually a very nice looking plant too. The buds and it's a thing. I think
should get bigger.
That's what's just crazy that our 2024 and our federal government still has marijuana as an class 1 drug of it's still. So it's just crazy how the culture and I even think the first time I went to, a weed shop was in Seattle. I think in like 2015. It was just interesting to see. It's just crazy. It's 2024 here, and our federal government it's still federally illegal. But then you go in the culture, and it's very much feels pretty mainstream. So it's just crazy how kind of our government or institutions can be so kind of, especially when there's just money waiting to be made off of the taxation of it.
Yeah. It's so insane that we spend so much time and money.
Yeah, the war on drugs and there's coming full circle back to our thing of, especially now when you see the immigrant refugee crisis on our southern border.
Yeah.
I just wonder how much of that is tied to, gangs and cartels in South America that were all formed because there's a black market because Americans can't legally purchase certain drugs.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting, how is our war on drugs then influencing, South America, which is then, I don't know. So it's just, again,
years of bad policies on our part. Yeah.
Bad policies, which I think are concerning because, the war on drugs sounds right. I don't know. It just seems like it was a complete failure. Especially when you think of how many people were locked up for lower level possession of marijuana and spent, how much human life was ruined.
And how much money did that cost? That's why you have to talk to these dopes who only give a crap about money. That costs money to do all the stupid BS, all the cruelty, all the wars. It costs money.
Well, even I think there's somebody to kind of, even if you go to a maximum security prison and you walk in there, and there is every drug you could think of going around the facility. So even in the maximum security facility, which is designed for maximum security, even they cannot prevent people from doing drugs. I think there's some radical countries. I want to say Spain was one that they've decriminalized all drugs. So I think, whether it's, heroin, like everything, like they've made actual drug use decriminalized. And I think from what I've read, it's actually been fairly positive because not only does it destigmatize it, I think, especially when you think of our underage drinking culture, how much of that is the actual drinking or how much of it is the lure of, you're not supposed to do it. But also, if people that are addicted to drugs, then if it's decriminalized, they have just better access and less stigma to actually getting care or help. And, I don't know. Also, and then it's saving costs instead of the government, employing a whole army to do something that it can't actually ever do because even a maximum security can't keep it out. Then it saves money.
I think there's a great movie where the one character, he got caught or something. And he says, what did you do? Basically, for a few days, some stoners are not going to be able, a few days or a few hours, some stoners are not going to be able to get their drugs. And then they're going to go somewhere else and get their drugs. That's all you've done. Like he said as a cop after a big bust. Like, that's all you've done. You know, it's like you really just, you know, a bunch of stoners are not going to, maybe a Saturday night, are not have a harder time getting drugs.
Yeah,
That's all we've done.
Well, I do have wondered just the origination of the war on drugs. Was that, how much of that was stigma? Because I think at that point it was kind of viewed as like a black or African American thing. And also, how much of it was just actual population control, right? Of how much of it was like, we can't have, you know, mass groups of people doing LSD because they might start questioning things, but we'll make alcohol illegal because that'll dumb them down. I think the problem now we face is actually winding it back, right? There's industries that are just built on, when you think of it, the prison industrial complex. I know, like, I think a lot of prisons actually like make money. Like, they're just profiteering things. There's a whole industry, around making money off of the system. And even when you think of, you know, whether it's police officers, there's a whole industry of the current way of policing or what's criminalized. Is there's actually, you know, there's people in power that benefit from it being
That's
that
one
way.
thing I'm scared of in the future, because when it comes to Project 2025, what they're going to do with the prison industrial complex, I get the feeling they're going to want to put people in jail for stuff. Like, well, this is me talking all paranoid about, but maybe I know if I'm off, I hope I'm off, but I'm worried about, like, you know, what they want to do with the prison system in the future. Are they going to recriminalize drugs? Are they going to look for a new reason to like build up prisons, like outside of what they have now? I mean,
I think it was Erie County. I think there's some hearing somewhere they were thinking about spending $700 million to build a new jail, and it's like we do not need to be building. Again, this comes to the thing is, I think if you know, we don't need more jails, right? Yes, there are bad people in society that do bad things that need to be punished, but we do not need people smoking a joint spending years in jail because they smoked. Like, there's we need sensible reforms and sensible rollbacks. Because the war on drugs, I fear is only. I just suspect that a lot of the immigration crisis we see is a direct result of poor federal policy on drugs, right? Whether it's cocaine, marijuana, all these drugs that people are smuggling in, that they're ultimately fleeing their homelands, which for whatever reason aren't safe, or they feel they could come here and just disappointed to see the American right. We have so much power, whether it's but we use it to tend to do these regime change wars or go around
terrible. Terrible.
Inflicting our point of view upon other cultures and other societies.
I wish I could change. You can't go back and change stuff, though. It's terrible.
That's the thing is, even our current moment, we're dealing with policy decisions that were made 170 years ago. I mean, whether it's, one example that we touched on was the highway constructions. The fact that, you know, planners 70 years ago decided to build highways through cities, that's one thing. Or the war on drugs, and there's even the gerrymandering of 100 years ago. So it's like we're dealing with these legacy things that we can't influence today.
Good. Let's say good luck to Annette for her hip replacement surgery.
Good luck on your surgery. And I think modern medicine is amazing. People are getting hip and knee replacements, and then
they're feel better.
They are. They're feeling better, up and chipper. So I think we're dealing with. I'm optimistic that technology could be a forcing function for positivity moving forward. Whether it's technology, we're increasing our quality of life, or I think too, ultimately this fragmentation that we're seeing with the internet, right? The internet is starting to disrupt everything from media to money to corporate power. I'm optimistic that in the long run, there will be some short, bumpy things in the short run, but in the long term, that it will be good. But at the same time, what do we do when we're just one or two people in a society faced with oppression from multiple different
really. I don't
industrial level.
I don't have any T-shirt designs really made for that.
Well, that's why I think art, right? Art,
art,
is an actual. And
Art is a drug against war.
It is. It's a drug. It's a very powerful. Yeah, it's a powerful force. I've even started to realize how powerful language is. It's powerful stuff, and I think, art is a way to. It's a way for one person to take on us. Yeah, to express themselves. I think it is. It's powerful, and we need more art in the world. Because the thing is, like, even the U.S. government with an unlimited budget, they can't create art. They're incapable of it because bureaucracies can't create art. Art comes from individuals and groups of individuals, and you can't manage art. Art just comes in an inorganic process.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what we need: more funding for the arts. Like they
That's the thing is you can't really fund art. I don't know. It's this. There's something about this. In order to make good art, you need to be starving somewhat, right? You need to be somewhat of a starving artist.
I wouldn't mind a grant. I don't have to be starving. Yeah.
But if someone gave you, hey, John, here's $1 billion to make art, your art would probably actually become worse, even though you'd have, you'd have access to pencils and pens and everything.
$1 billion.
That's what I'm saying. Is like at a certain point, yes, you need money to grow tomatoes and to a base level, but you do need to be starving a little bit because from your oppression, from your trials and tribulations, that's where the good art comes from. It doesn't come from having an unlimited budget and unlimited resources.
Geez, we only have 2 minutes left, but we have. There's a whole branch about like, oh my God, like African American music, like that's like all came out of poverty. It's all incredible stuff. It's like, but it came right out of having nothing.
Yeah.
About having just no, but it's just like this insane, like amazing, like just stuff, art, music out of nowhere. It's just amazing. Yeah, it's a good example of.
That's why I'd say there's like a double-edged sword to art of It's not the rich people in their pampered, privileged life in their mansions making art. They actually make some of the worst art.
That could never be made with. Well,
it's almost like that creative edge, and that's the thing is you can't kind of top down design art. Art is kind of like an bottom up thing.
It's just it's cool stuff.
Where do you think your art comes from? As we wrap up a minute here.
I can access emptiness, like just void. Out of the void comes everything. Everything comes out of emptiness, out of void, out of vacuum, out of the vacuum of space. I can access.
I heard Bob Dylan talking about one of his songs for his one of his albums, his songs, and he said he compared to he's almost catching. He caught the song from a stream. It came from him, and it wasn't. Or I think there's a poem Xanadu, and Xanadu Kubla Khan is a famous line, and he talks about how it just came in a dream, and he just caught a little bit of it. It wasn't. It's not a top down thing. So we have 20 seconds here.
20 seconds,
Thank you, puppeteers, for.
Good luck at that. Smoke
cheer
some
up and
weed.
thank you, Nick's World, for your jokes.
Nick.
And for those of you that are not watching live, we appreciate you watching. And thank you for tuning into our show. Our show is over now because that's what the clock is telling us. And we're puppets, so we have to end the show now.
Okay.
So till next time, fading to darkness.